introduce yourself and tell folks what it is that you do, and then we'll just come down the line.
For sure, Councilmember, thank you. Jose Gomez, 3rd Precinct Inspector, and I think I talked to most people in this room regarding the 3rd Avenue and 2nd Avenue encampment, but here to support and try to do what we can. Thank you.
Lieutenant John Hogland, I'm the lieutenant of the Unsheltered and Vulnerable Populations Unit.
Commander Monica Hansen, and I oversee the Unsheltered and Vulnerable Population Unit.
Brett Jelly, Deputy City Operations Officer for the Development, Health, and Livability groups. So both regulatory services, health department, and community planning and economic development report to me.
Michael Ohama, I work for the Mayor's Office. Today is my 1-year anniversary of being at the City of Minneapolis. Before this, I worked, and I came here to do alternatives to safety. But before this, I was 5 years at the county board, and before that, I worked for a supportive housing developer. So I speak social services, and so they asked me to get engaged with encampment work.
Hi everyone, my name is Hendrik Carpio. I'm a crime prevention specialist with the Minneapolis Police Dept, 3rd Precinct.
Good morning everyone, Damone Chaplin, Health Commissioner, Minneapolis Health Department.
Thank you, Damone. Is there anyone here from MnDOT? We're expecting some Hennepin County representatives as well as MnDOT. No?
Yes,
Hennepin.
Oh, okay.
Hi,
Great.
I'm Erin Winston, planning analyst for Hennepin County Housing Stability.
And you're with Hennepin County, ma'am?
I'm with the City of Minneapolis, homeless response team.
Okay, the homeless response team, great. We don't have many chairs, but if you guys wanna join us here, are there any other representatives? MnDOT?
I don't think we'll be getting MnDOT.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I don't think we'll be getting MnDOT today. They won't show their face.
I did invite someone who does work with MnDOT.
Well, they said, we invited them and they said they were gonna send a representative, but.
I know. That's MnDOT. They'll make a commitment and promise and they will not honor it.
Okay.
Especially they have resources too.
Well, we wanna see what we can do. I know that we have a lot of challenges, and I wanna give the community an opportunity to just highlight some of the challenges. I've been getting many emails. I know that we've been getting a lot of calls to MPD, to MnDOT, to our homeless response team. But what are some of the challenges that people are experiencing? If you feel comfortable talking about it.
I would love to start. My name is Naomi. I am a Ward 9 resident, so I have lived within walking distance of an encampment. I'm so sorry, I have to move that. For 2 years, I've been within walking distance of an encampment, but I know these residents who are living at 3rd and 33rd, and I think the issue is that these people have been chased around the city for over a year. No one has provided them with permanent housing. When they were staying under 31st, under the bridge on 31st, people were taking their tents every day. Their documents are getting stolen. You can only replace a social security card 6 times before they won't give you any more. And so I think the issue is that we're not treating this camp of people like they're human beings. And they are human beings. They're wonderful people. I know a lot of them. They have relationships with my children. I wanted to bring my baby today because these encampment residents who we're here to talk about today, they are special to him. He has relationships with them. And I want to make sure that we start, because I have seen a lot of the rhetoric around this encampment. I've seen a lot of the things that people are posting on Nextdoor. I see what's being shared with Crime Watch. And I know these people, I've been working with them for over a year, just as a volunteer, just as a City of Minneapolis resident. And I want us to make sure that we are framing this discussion. These are human beings who deserve permanent housing and not to be chased around the city, not to be evicted on a weekly or daily basis. And the city needs to be doing more to provide permanent housing with supportive services for these residents, because these are Ward 8 residents.
Okay,
These are Ward 8 residents, they're your constituents, and they deserve housing and to be treated like human beings.
Thank you. Oh, okay, wonderful. So we do have interpreters. Do we need interpretation for Somali
Yeah.
voices?
Yeah, they need it.
Okay.
Like, the other one.
So, I'm sorry, tell me your name again? Abdul is here to help with interpretation for Somali speakers.
I'm here. I'm Turjuman.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So are there other folks who want to share
Right
about
here.
their experiences? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cindy and I'm a property manager on campus. And we manage a condominium building on Lake Nicollet. Our experience isn't the same as yours. We're having to deal with drugs, with vandalism, with people breaking into our building, doing drugs in our building, prostitution, and violence. So those are the things that we're concerned about and the encampments that.
Which building is this?
We have one on 28th and Blaisdell, and we have one on Lake Nicollet. They were at the, they stayed at the, there was an encampment at the Wells Fargo building before the Wells Fargo building started construction. But those are the situations that we deal with, and my homeowners don't feel safe in their own home right now. And we know it's a problem that's not gonna be cured with just moving them around. It's a much deeper problem than that.
Absolutely.
So that's
Right over here.
Mike.
Andrea, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
My name is Mike Forshaw. I'm chairman of the American Indian Movement here in the Twin Cities. And I just want to say that Minneapolis is, we are living under occupation. This is occupied territory. The mayor, the governor, they all agree that this is stolen Dakota land. That's part of the problem we are having in my community. Is I've been dealing with the homeless for over 20 years. I've known these people. I was meeting with Channel 5 the other day. I see these kids. I've known them since they were this big. And now they're out there on the streets. I go to their funerals. I understand the neighborhood who lives around these, their garages are getting broken into. The drugs, the needles, the prostitution. I see all of it. So my plan, our plan, the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board is the largest landholder in the city of Minneapolis. The largest landholder of stolen Dakota land. If they gave us East Phillips Park, return East Phillips Park, we could put in over 100 tiny homes. Plus we have the gym. And there's all kinds of park buildings around, so those kids can go play somewhere else. My people are dying in the street. I just talked to MnDOT for over a year and a half. They agreed to give us, sign us over the Wall of Forgotten Natives. East Phillips Park goes right into the Wall of Forgotten Natives, which ends up on Franklin, which is the American Indian Culture Corridor. And I urge everybody to go down there today. Franklin and Cedar, drive under the Highway 55 underpass. That's our culture corridor, and it's a shithole. It is bad. It wouldn't cost the city a penny. It wouldn't cost the park board a penny to return our stolen land, take all those fences, put it around East Phillips Park, and let us take care of our people. We'd have a Dakota sweat lodge, an Anishinaabe sweat lodge. I go to Minnehaha in 26, I see all the Muslims coming out on Saturday and Sunday, all dressed in white. I don't know what they teach their kids in there. Must be beautiful for them. I see all the Catholics coming out of the church. Where do we have to go? Where do we have in the Twin Cities? The Indian Center? No. We need our own land back. We need to take care of our own people. Treatment isn't working for us. You give us East Village Park, we'll transform our people and transform our community. Instead of breaking into garages, those people will be repairing garages and painting garages. Instead of jumping fences, they're repairing fences. Instead of running through someone's yard, they can help and cultivate their yard. We can work together. But that's our solution, is land back. That's what we need. Wouldn't cost you a penny. Look how many millions of dollars the police have gotten since George Floyd. Look how much money has been spent on this. Millions and millions. And it's getting worse. They're not doing. I urge everybody to go down to Franklin Avenue today. Last year I took Senator Mary Kunesh, some people running for mayor. I took them down there to walk through the encampment to see. And I've been working with Gomez. He knows the Red Road Village story. He supports the Red Road Village story. I worked with Troy Carlson, Minneapolis Police. He was the head of shutting down the encampments. I said, I need to interview you. Your support for what we want to do. I can't do it, he said. They won't let me. Called them back, nope, they moved me from the encampments and they put me somewhere else. See, that's what I'm looking for
So
is the
land
support.
back is your solution?
Land back and let us take care of our people. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
See, this lodge has not been able to solve the funding for the police department and has stalled for years to get the necessary force to enforce the laws and keep our streets safe at the same time. So shame on you. Shame on you for treating the people like garbage and truck them around. Shame on MnDOT who has only solution that has provided is to clean the encampment on a daily basis, which is horrible in itself, which causes such chaos for not just the people that are living there, but also the resident itself. Shame on you for not taking the gravity that this issue is. I have over 100 pages out here, Council Jenkins, that I have sent to you and other officials, and I have received zero response. Your silence is deafening as your inaction in itself. And that is the problem, that our city officials are not taking necessary action. Is this so hard to solve? It is not. Allocate necessary resources, allocate funds and treat people with compassion, but not treat them as garbage, as you have been for this year. Treating the people that are dealing with this as garbage, but also treating us residents as nothing. And then in the status quo, allowing yourself to act with impunity, allowing the criminals to act with impunity, while you just expect us to come to these sit-down sessions and come up with solutions for you. You know what? I have a solution for you. Here's the solution for you. Do your homework. You know what? What is your stakeholder analysis? Who are all of the stakeholders that need to be involved in here? Who is impacted? We as residents, we are. The unhoused people are the ones that are impacted as well. What are their needs, experiences? What is the problem? What is the goal? What is the scope of this? What are we trying to solve? What are the procedures? Did you know that Homeless Encampment team has had 2 full staff members since 2023, as I looked at the data, and 1 manager? That has changed to 1 staffer and 1 manager over the last 2 months. There was currently a posting that was closed the last week for the hiring. So you have to understand that the resources that you have in itself and the money that you're doling out to some nonprofits to try to solve this solution, that money continues to get embezzled, those are not solutions, council. The council member, the government officials, you're inept.
So
You're
say
inept in
you
your
have solutions?
actions.
Do you have solutions?
I
That what
elected
you just
you.
said?
I elected you, council member, to represent us, to find solutions, to be the voice of the people. And you are coming here unprepared, as you're unprepared to respond to any of the emails that we sent. So the problem is our government officials' ineptitude. You and the mayor office, and you of the other 12 council members that are stuck in providing solutions, such as Council Member Chavez that wants to create a refugee camp to continue the drug trafficking, to continue the sex trafficking, to continue to exploit these people. The blood of these people are on your hand, council member. The blood of these people are on your hand, and I would be embarrassed to show up here today to not talk about solutions. Do you at least can talk about what the problem and what the goal is, council person? What have you done? Can you talk about that?
Okay,
I yield.
Thank you. Thank you
Can
very
I
much.
just speak? I
Do you
have
wanna
my
speak?
hand up. Yes, my name is Lisa Clemens. I'm with the Mother's Love Initiative. We did go under that bridge and clean out from under that bridge that you're
Yes, thank
talking
you.
about.
And I've met you before.
And thank you. And 5, maybe 10 minutes later, a van came and delivered food, and they just threw it all over the ground again. So I came here thinking like he did, is there a piece of land that we can build something on for people? Because I don't know if you guys have really talked to them. Everybody say they did, but I don't know if you really did. But a lot of them have housing vouchers that they're just not using. And I don't know if any of you have been addicted. I've lived through 2 sisters who were addicted. And if my option is to pay rent somewhere or re-up, I'm a re-up. So I think when people are in these spaces doing all of this talking, are you talking from experience? That's number one. But I do think that we pick up needles. My team have a contract with the city to pick up needles. And when I tell you it is an abundance of needles throughout this city, it is ridiculous. It is behind people's houses, in their yards. You gotta watch where you step in so that you don't step on a needle that you're there to pick up. They are up the walls, on top of the bridge. It's everywhere. But when everybody come into these spaces, you attack one thing, and that's the city of Minneapolis. You pay taxes to the state, to the federal government, to the county, and to the city. But the smallest pot to make change is the city. That's your taxpayer dollars, the city. But you don't bring all of those county commissioners in a room. You don't bring the state lawmakers into a room. You just come into a room to beat up on the one people that it's easy to beat up on, and that's the city council. Yes, they are wrong too. I beat up on them too. Let's be real about me. I beat up on them too. But you keep forgetting where all of your dollars go. When you put gas in your car, you paying the state and the federal government to just put gas. When you turn on your TV to watch cable, you're paying the state, the federal government, the city. You're paying everybody. But you only come into a space and demand that change be done by the city. So you're not gonna get a solution if that's the only pot of money that you're trying to make change with. That man right there, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Mike Forshaw.
He got a good idea.
All right. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
I live in the 3200 block of 3rd Avenue South. I've lived in that neighborhood 30 years as a resident. I helped clean it up in the 90s. I was part of Canju. I was part of a Black Law leader. I'm tired right now. I'm tired of this. We need to look at these people as they are vulnerable adults in the encampment. Yes, they're human. We know they're human. Nobody's disputing that. But they're drug addicts. They cannot cognitively make good choices. We are ruled by gang members right now in our neighborhood. I am not usually afraid, but I'm afraid now. I'm not sleeping well. We are stressed out. We have been put through so much trauma in our neighborhood here for the last 4 years. You need to get these people into it. You have empty buildings, put them in empty buildings, keep the drug dealers out, allow them to have facilities where they can bathe, where they can eat, where they're safe. If they want to leave and get their drugs, let them, I don't know what they call them, wet houses? I don't know. Let them do their drugs if they want to. I can't. But give them options. Can they, and don't say low-income housing is gonna save it.
Where do you work, ma'am?
I'm not going there.
Why does that matter?
Because she's a nurse and she's talking about human beings in a way
Ma'am,
that's
it's my
so
time to talk.
degrading.
Okay, you got to talk.
Her turn. Don't do that. You're being judgmental. Let her
Have one
talk.
person speak at a time, please.
I've had my driveway blocked with stolen cars, people sleeping in my driveway. I clean up drug debris every day out of my driveway. I am afraid because of the drug dealers and these. I've been threatened by the encampment people. My neighbors Jenna and Gail and Mary, we've all been threatened. We're not safe in our neighborhoods because we have drug dealers roaming freely, gangsters. We're not safe. Where are our rights? They can say no to getting treatment, but where are our rights because they're saying no? We have rights to be safe.
Right here.
Thank you. Good, hold this, please. Hi, my name is Andrea Benjamin. I work with Amethyst Recovery Solutions. I'm in the camp in the front lines every day out there. I work with Camp Ninokasi with Nicole Mason. We are out there. We have a recovery camp. You know what I'm saying? It is clean. If you come and see that camp, it is clean. We have people that in that camp, they sign up for peer support
Which
services.
camp are you referring to?
The one on 15th and like Bloomington is right there on
Camp Ninokasi.
15th and 25th, Camp Ninokasi. Then we have one on right there in Bloomington at the essay that we work on. We have a team that goes in there and we sign them up for peer support services. We get them assessments. Here is the issue though. When we do get them signed up, there is not enough beds in treatment. And it takes forever for every time they gotta jump through all these hoops just to even get them in treatment. If they wanna get to detox, there is a waiting list. Evergreen just closed down. That is over 600 people that we have tried to place, but most of them have ended up in camps and back using. Okay, I am out there and we are trying, but we need better solutions as far as like, when you evict, we lose them. We lose and they go right back to the use. The same day they evicted them 3 camps, a couple of weeks ago, they evicted 3 camps in one day. Where were them people supposed to go? We went down to the Greenway. We got a U-Haul and brought them down to the Greenway. No warning, no nothing. And they did the recovery camp that had just opened up on Cedar. These are clean camps. We go in there, we clean them. They keep their own camps clean, but every time they are evicted, it is traumatizing. Where are we supposed to go? Yeah, we're sorry, we're on private property. But honestly, it was ours before it was yours. You know what I'm saying? We are out here struggling. We are dying. I am out there every day. The shit I see, and I have a 3 and 4-year-old at home. We just had a year, a couple days ago, a year of Camp Ninokasi. We have placed so many in treatment and got so many help. You know what I'm saying? But the issue is we have no place. We need a harm reduction treatment just like Evergreen. We need places where they can go. His idea, sir, was amazing. We need our land back. You know what I'm saying? It is, if you notice, they don't even talk about how many missing and murdered indigenous women and Indians there are. Our overdose rate and our thing is off the charts. Native Americans, we need real solutions. If you guys can't change anything, how come the people that can change things are not here? You can't even really make a decision today. All this is just talking for people to vent and make it look like you're doing something. But nothing is really gonna come of it. What most likely is gonna happen, because all of these people right here are from over there, all our neighbors, all are pissed off, you're gonna go and evict that camp. And then they're just gonna go somewhere else and set up on somebody else's property.
2 blocks.
2 blocks away. And I'm gonna be there helping.
All right.
And if I
We
could
hear
just
from
quickly.
someone else, other folks want to speak?
There's not drug dealers roaming your streets. Drug dealers are living in garages.
Let him talk.
There are drug users roaming your
Let him
streets, and
talk.
there are a few low-level drug dealers here and there. But for the
Yeah, it's South
most part,
Minneapolis. Welcome
few
to
and
South
far
Minneapolis.
between,
I'm from
like,
here.
when anyone I know has been selling drugs, they've been perfectly housed just fine. Anyway.
So that's true, we work
Like,
up
I respect the safety. The camps, they're not as clean as they could be, honestly. Like, I help clean them up. We encourage them to clean them up. And the problem isn't drugs. I know rich addicts. I know addicts, like, that are lawyers, functioning fucking lawyers right now. But, like, the point is, like, that, like, just because of their socioeconomic, that's a bunch of shit, whatever. Like, that, the problem is, fucking trauma and lack of fucking resources, and it's just sick.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Councilmember Jenkins and Councilmember Palmisano, thank you so much for giving community the opportunity to have this space to speak, to share our thoughts, and to communicate on, number one, what the issues are at hand, what are the major issues, and what we feel are gonna be really important solutions for our community. So thanks for giving us the space and the humility to say, you know what, we're elected officials, but we don't have all the answers. And we wanna hear from you, what can we do? This is a beautiful thing that we're all here together today, and we've all got different opinions, but there's definitely a big need. I own a flower shop on 27th and Lindale Flower Bar, and I'm also on the board of Inland Lake and Uptown Associations. And what I'm hearing from our business community, because that's the perspective or lens that I'm coming from, not that anybody's other's perspectives aren't important either, is that our economy for the city here is in decline. We just heard from Mayor Fry that we have an 8.1% tax increase on our properties. And that's gonna be doubled next year too. So I think it's really important for us as a community to say, what can we do to stop the bleeding? We really need to preserve our, sorry, I'll let that go by. We really need to preserve not only our communities, but our tax base as well. And I think that's something that everybody's just kind of forgetting about, right? If we don't have our tax base, we don't have the funds to provide housing for our residents and those most vulnerable. So I think that I've got an idea to have kind of a think tank of Hennepin County personnel, city personnel, housing personnel, maybe have, a small group, like 5 or 6 people, to really hone in on where the gaps are, where the needs are, and then make some emergency decisions. Hey, let's open up this facility. It might be temporary, but it's a solution for now, and have the right people and the right individuals to run those type of operations instead of opening it up to, maybe somebody that doesn't have the experience or knowledge, in-depth knowledge about some of these critical issues. So thank you so much for giving us the space today.
Thank you. Thank you. So now I want to hear from some of our staff, some of the people at Hennepin County, the homeless response team. We have the Commissioner of Health to talk about how we're approaching what I believe is a serious drug crisis, because the needles aren't just appearing for no reason. They are being used, and people are having serious addiction problems. And so, first from the homeless response team, how are we engaging with folks living in encampments, and when they get cleared, is there warning? Is it just clearing them out in the middle of the night?
Councilperson, that's a silly question to ask. You should know how the homeless response team
I've
works.
asked the question. I'm not on the
You're an
homeless response team,
embarrassment to
sir,
our ward.
so can you please discuss that?
Yeah, so our community are direct service providers for encampments, people who are experiencing any kind of homelessness. We get out there, we engage with people, we make contact with them, and if they want to.
Could you speak up? I can't hear her.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, if we can just have one person speaking, we can potentially hear.
Just asking for a little louder. We want to hear your voice.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I would talk over everybody. So if anybody who is interested in shelter or referral to a provider that can provide housing services, we will do that. When it comes to closing an encampment, it's all based on property owners. So on a private lot, as a city, we cannot just go in there immediately and close it. On city property, that's on a city decision. When it comes to the clearing and the notice of it, I actually don't have an answer on that. I can go back and talk to my managers and communicate with you on that, because I am not in those meetings when a decision is made, how it's made, the safety factors, who the property owner is.
Thank you. Do we have any staff here that are familiar with how encampments get noticed about closures?
We don't get notice. We don't get notice. The last camp they did, we just had a meeting with the neighbors the night before. The next morning, we had a meeting at a church right down the hall, right down from the camp with the neighborhood, right? To discuss the issues of the camp and so we could fix it, so we could all live together. The next morning, they evicted that camp. Sergeant Martin was there and evicted it and wouldn't even let the people go in there and get their stuff. He only let me go in because I had a shirt and I had to sit there and drag until the rest of my team showed up. People's belongings from that street, and then they went from there down over to the recovery camp, and then they went, when they found out about Cedar and that we were gonna bring the people to Cedar, they evicted that camp that same day. We had no warning, none.
That meeting was hosted by a city council member too.
48 hours, but we do not get warning anymore. They just kick us out and bulldoze us.
My name's Daniel Suter.
They claim.
I'm an attorney who's researched this issue extensively, and I can tell you this lack of notice is the exact thing that is causing the city of Minneapolis to lose a class action lawsuit repeatedly. Hennepin County, Berry versus Hennepin County. It's in the District Court of Minnesota. This total lack of notice. A court has found that it is probable that they're going to win on both due process grounds and Fourth Amendment grounds. The city is losing this lawsuit, and they're dragging it out in order to punish people in the meantime.
And your taxes are going up.
This is being done in your name. Whatever your stance is, the city is going to lose a massive class action lawsuit because they can't be bothered to give notice. Whether you think it should be cleared or not, they at the very least have to follow the bare constitutional protections, and the city refuses to do that whatsoever.
I just have a simple question, and maybe you can answer that. Where is it that we believe we have a right to just pitch a tent on somebody's property or anywhere in the city? I'm not opposed to people finding shelter. I'm not opposed to that. But we're talking about the city giving an eviction notice as if you paying rent to be there.
That's not what it is. That's not what it is.
I'm trying to understand.
These are trespass notices. They may not have a right to be on certain land or not, but they still have rights against the Fourth Amendment protections and for due process. The right to contest these things, the right to have a venue, and they do not.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of that. I'm just saying, when did we
The federal courts are
decide we
not
could just
siding
pitch
with the
tents?
city. So regardless of how you feel about it, the city is losing, and they're gonna go down in flames anyway.
Response to how we are addressing the closure of encampments.
The question about notice, I think there's two situations. So there's the city-owned property, and then there's privately owned property. And so in all of the recent cases where we've had encampments on city-owned property, the property's been fenced. It's had no trespass signs on it, and so we when the homeless response team or MPD shows up, we are letting people know that they can't be on this property. It was posted, and then we work internally and determine when we need to move forward with clearing the encampment. That kind of depends on the safety and security of city staff.
Can I say something, because I'm actually the property owner of 3305 3rd Avenue South where the encampment is, and I mean, it's just like, we have laws, no trespassing. I mean, a lot of these people are doing drugs, there's resources for them. It's not about, there's resources, you just said you provide resources. Can I speak, okay?
You're speaking.
It's like, you gotta enforce the laws. You can't just let people take over a piece of somebody's land that they bought. No, listen, you talked, okay? Like, everybody has, like, not everybody, but, you know, there's thousands of homes in this neighborhood, or in this city, all over the country, okay? You can't just let people who are doing drugs and breaking the law just decide, oh, we're gonna take over this land and then just do drugs. Wait, listen, I let you talk, okay? I've been taking care of this property for 7 years, okay? You can't just let people do that. It's not a compassion thing. It's like, yes, they're on drugs. A lot of them are on drugs. There's shootings. I mean, they're shooting up the neighborhood, all these people who are living on that block are like terrified now. There's kids. I mean, it's very simple. Just arrest them, take them off, and put them in jail or something. I mean, they're breaking the law. They're doing drugs. They're trespassing. You know, people who are paying their taxes and owning homes and abiding by the laws, they don't deserve to just have their whole livelihoods taken over by these encampments. And the city this happened on August 7th, and it's still there. And it's just like, just take it out. It's not complicated. Arrest them, get them off the property, put them in jail. If they're doing drugs, you know,
Help them.
charge them. I mean, it's like we all have decisions. We all have decisions we have to make, and it's like you gotta just. Yeah, I know, but it is complicated. But you can make it simple by just doing it.
And they do have rights.
Yes, I'm not saying they don't have rights.
What
but
about
when
our
you're
rights?
doing
You all have the
drugs
rights.
and taking over private land, that's against the law.
Thank
okay?
you, sir.
That's
All
simple.
right, we understand. Are you Ernie?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And I want to know when
Commissioner-
you're actually going to take this off, and everybody on the block who has lived here for 20, 25 years, and everybody just wants that to go. And I'm not knocking anybody about, you know, yes, there's problems and all that stuff, but like, you gotta take that thing off and put them someplace else, or put them in jail or whatever. If they're, enforce the laws that you already have. That's all I'm asking. And if the cops don't have enough resources, if we need to hire more police to do that, or whatever needs to be done, then that's what I want to be done. Because I'm being told they don't have enough resources, and there's all this indecision about what to do with these people. I mean, just come up with a plan and do it. And that's all I'm saying, like, do it tomorrow. Because people are shooting at each other. This isn't like, you know, it's not like a kindergarten class
Thank you,
there.
Ernie, thank you. We're gonna hear from this gentleman and then this woman in the corner there.
Thank you very much. Thank you for putting together this meeting. I believe it was at the end of the last business day on Friday. But we're here, and I just want to introduce myself. My name is Aaron Johnson. I'm filming a documentary called They Sleep Among Us. I've been working on it. I've been filming evictions for about 3 years now. I started making the documentary about 1.5 years ago because I went 4 years after becoming paralyzed from the neck down by COVID in 2019. We didn't even know what COVID was yet. Wow. I have an autoimmune disease. It mixed with it. The rest is history. We didn't even know how it happened until about 1.5 years ago. But like, regardless, I started making this documentary because I went 4 years between when I became paralyzed, which I retaught myself the rest of how to walk using a cane in pandemic shutdown, while my neighborhood burned down that I grew up in because of police murder. So there's already a lot of tensions with police, and police coming in, sweeping everything, not talking to the public. They have not agreed to talk to my camera. They will not address our community. They don't give warnings. They say, I'm just doing my job. It's too bad. I don't know. I'm just here. Well, I don't know. Then they say, like, go to City Hall for solutions. We go to City Hall. We are silenced. There's a 2-minute limit to say everything you gotta say. And so, like, this is our first opportunity to even be here. So, like, it's ridiculous it's gotten this far. But then also I'm seeing, oh my God, so many things. Sorry, let me back up. I became disabled. I had no income for 4 years. I had to fight. Okay, keep in mind, I had to reteach myself how to speak. So even speaking on the phone to fight for funding, which when pandemic funding ran out, there was suddenly nothing overnight. Nothing on a city level, no plan on a state level. I helped shape the long COVID funding, which they then manipulated into a way that I myself did not qualify for. So it was back to the community for raising funds. So I ended up basically coming up with this documentary because I had to raise money to not end up in an encampment myself, okay? Only because I was disabled by a global pandemic that y'all pretend to care about. There's nothing in place for pandemic either. Funds ran out, which is why this tax is going up. And guess what? A lot of the COVID money went to putting up fences, putting boulders on empty lots, evictions. It did not go into housing. It did not go to help disabled people like myself. Excuse me, let me just like kind of catch myself a little bit, but basically to say, you know, I'm out here filming people's real lived stories, their experiences. You can hear from themselves if you go to my YouTube. This is not a plug, it's not monetized. I just want everyone to have this conversation because this gentleman over here, he's got a point. We don't want this on his property either. Nobody does. These are people trying to survive and they have nowhere to survive. By evicting them, they don't evaporate. They have nowhere to go. I encourage you all to call Adult Shelter Connect. Excuse me again. There are never beds available, especially when there's these unannounced evictions. They also just closed, Evergreen? They're closing places that have beds.
Say it again.
So the number's going down. It was already at capacity. There's not treatment. There's no resources. I have multiple recordings of city workers coming in saying, resources, resources. I say, what are the resources? What are the names? What are the locations? They can never answer. I call them in front of them, the number on there to call for beds, and it goes, it's a recorded message, it's not even a person. It goes, sorry, there's nothing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, but also, I'm an employee of the state of Minnesota for public health and homelessness. So like, y'all can treat me with respect because I'm telling on all of you.
Thank you.
Burns and I'm a homeowner for about 15 years.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you, dear.
My name is Faith Burns and I'm a homeowner about 15 years in Minnesota. Also, I run a very small business. And when the eviction started, I'd like to ask the gentleman that, do you think that this happened over a period of time or one day?
The encampment?
No, the people, the homeless.
Well,
You
it's
think this
obviously something that's been going on forever, but it's
Okay,
gotten
but
worse over the last, like,
specifically
5 years.
in the park. And I say that because I got up one morning and I'm gonna walk to the park. And all of a sudden I see all these people homeless. I was like, what is that? And so I went to look on my computer to see what's going on and find out that they got evicted one day. Maybe about 50 or 60 people within the park in one day. So if they did that, and now we having this problem of eviction, then I looked at PPL, that's the people that helped me when I got here 30 years ago. And PPL had said they had 3,000 people looking for houses, but they only have 1,500. So I started looking around like, what happened? How could someone come homeless in one day, not one person, but over 200 some people came homeless in that park, and they said, okay, we gotta get them out before wintertime. And so I'm just looking at this like this is impossible. How could you combat that? You said put them in jail?
Put them in jail, they're breaking the law, it's that simple.
Wait a minute, evidently, somebody told them to go to the park.
Who's they?
The people on my property.
You saw each of them, you know their names? You
No,
have
I don't know
recordings of
them,
you have
go over
evidence?
there and you go over there, okay?
I'm in them all the time.
I was just asking a question on there, but also I wanted to say
So,
that I
thank
looked
you.
around, I'm sorry.
Can
I
we
finish
hear
this?
from
Let me
the
finish
mayor?
last thing. One thing I looked at, I called every, they give money everywhere. I looked and, you can get money for this, you get money for that. And I looked, and when I started calling, you know what they said to me? You live in that area that had that fire and that the raid, that had the march. Because you live in that area, we can't give you no money. They took our area off of that site. So if I want to help, and as a business person, I couldn't. Not only if I move out of this area, but now if I stay in this area, I couldn't help.
Okay, sorry.
I appreciate it, Councilmember, thank you.
I want to level set a little bit. Last night, 2,500 men, women, and children stayed in county shelter in our community. Since 2020, we've seen a 24% reduction in unsheltered homelessness. These aren't numbers that the city's coming up with. The county is in charge of that. The county's really, really good at moving people through their system to permanent supportive housing if people are going to that. It's hard to get people to do that. Last night we had, I think, 37 encampments in the city of Minneapolis. Maybe, my gal, I'm looking at you.
I think it's 40.
40.
Over 40.
But most of those are 1Z, 2Z people living in these encampments. They want to stay outside. They don't want to go inside. I understand that idea. But what we really have are 1, 2, sometimes 3 big encampments that we chase around the city all the time. It's exhausting. Those encampments, those 2 to 3 encampments represent maybe 4% of the people that are experiencing homelessness at any given night. And we spend 99% of our time chasing those folks around. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And it's because we have a fentanyl crisis in this community.
Yes.
It is 500 times more powerful than heroin. It's $1 a pill. You can get it anywhere. And we can't combat it. When people are that addicted to this drug, they don't want help. And we're struggling. We're struggling on what to do with that. I say that because we try so many different ways. That reduction that we had in unsheltered homelessness is because of great work between the state, county, and the city. It is our ARPA dollars, the federal money we were able to inject into our shelter system to expand it to have more 24/7 shelter that sees people get into permanent housing at a 6 times higher rate than regular traditional shelter. We have increased not only HRT teams, but the county has people that are out there on a regular basis trying to help shepherd people into shelter, into the system. We are trying. It is extremely taxing. I credentialed myself earlier today by saying I've been doing this for 10 years. I've watched so many people come and go through this work because it's exhausting, kills you. None of these public servants up here wanted to be moving people around. They're not evil people. They don't go home excited to wake up the next day to go evict an encampment. It's terrible. But so I say that we're doing good work. We're one of the only communities in the entire country that can say that we have a reduction in unsheltered homelessness. Truly the only ones. Seattle, Portland, all of our equivalents, huge increases. So I tell you all this. I know that that's lip service to you all because this encampment's right on top of your properties and it's miserable. I appreciate you guys coming here today. I appreciate your time. I appreciate that you're dealing with this. Bear with us. We are trying to get to a solution.
Of that 24% reduction that you're talking about and that you're proud of, how much of that is people actually dead?
That's what I just
Actually
said.
dying, because I've been asked by the Minneapolis Police 3
thing.
times to come and identify a body.
More than
2 of
one
them I
person
knew
a
who
day
they were.
that dies from a fentanyl overdose in our community.
So some of that 24% is part of the death. So instead of reducing homelessness, you're reducing the homeless.
I think that's a fair point out, but I think our community's done an incredible job with harm reduction.
Last
and
year when
providing
Troy
Narcan to
Carlson was
everybody.
going through the encampments, he had his little sheet of paper. The numbers weren't even right. Some people didn't even work there. He goes, Mike, that's all I got. That's why I get the handout. And if you don't want these services, that's all we have. Well, they're not accepting services. Well, you see the services they got? I wouldn't accept those services either. Some people do. So you're really reducing homelessness by people being dead. I've lost friends. The girl who got shot under the bridge, I knew that girl who got shot under the bridge. She got shot in the head.
Moved into housing. That's how we're reducing homelessness.
I'm on my fourth housing coordinator. I've had housing since December and I have no housing. It's August, about to be September.
This addiction and it's mental
I'm
illness. You give them
fighting
a
to
house,
survive,
it's not
too.
gonna work. We're not talking about homelessness. We're talking
we're
about
talking
mental
about two
illness
different
and
things.
drug addiction. 2 different things.
You're right. We have a fentanyl crisis.
You can't give them people a
The
house.
people who have a homeless crisis, they are getting placed in homes. The people who have an addiction issue,
I work at a shelter.
that is
I work at the Homeward Bound Shelter right next to the Highway 55, and I see it every day I'm there.
Yeah.
And we got tents around the shelter now because of all the encampments that got
So
shut down.
you're-
We have tents
you're
right
very
around
clear.
the shelter,
You're
very
very
well. And I
clear
talked to this guy.
that there is a drug addiction.
I see it being sold, I see it being used. When I call, they say there's nothing we can do.
So I want to hear from our Commissioner of
Can
Public
I
Health.
gotta leave, but I just wanna say, when I hear you say harm reduction, when my team is out there, we're picking up all those needles, all of that little slips of aluminum foil, and the pipes that are being handed out for them to smoke, fentanyl. So when I hear people talk about harm reduction, that's the only vision I have.
You're welcome for that. I'm trying to get them to be clean about it, and
Maybe
some
they
are,
should
some
just stick
aren't.
to dirty needles.
Yeah, love the HIV.
Maybe we should get them off the dirty
It ain't
needles.
that's not the issue.
And maybe we should get them, try to help them get off of it.
Well, it's not working, is it?
If I could, like, as a former fentanyl addict, as a former.
You've already spoken, please. Can we have someone else speak?
We're going to hear from our Commissioner of Public Health.
Yeah, good afternoon, good morning. It's home for me, and listening to the conversation here. I hope you guys can hear me. Number one, the collective impact is important. Working with the county and the state to come together with a solution is super important as part of our strategic planning for our opioid dollars that we have coming in to make sure that we're covering all the bases as far as treatment, intervention, and recovery, and prevention. But the thing that I do want to hit on is that we're dealing with a different type of drug. This fentanyl is very, very powerful. And the strategies that we had before don't work as well with this particular drug. And so it's part of the reason we're seeing some of the outcomes that we're seeing now within the city. This is both, the encampments are both a housing and a drug issue. And then the drugs lead to other crimes of opportunity. And that is the truth of the matter. When we do go to these encampments, we walk through them, we're seeing drug paraphernalia all over the place. And so, you know, the question really becomes, you know, if you're a homeless person or a person experiencing homelessness, if you're in one of these encampments, if you didn't come in with the drug issue, you know, the chances are you may develop one. And so for us as the health department, our goal is to get services out to the people. We are finishing up our strategic planning process for the opioid dollars, which will include some of the community engagement and access to the encampments with our medical mobile unit and some of the other strategies that we'll be using at the emergency room. The difficult piece with this is that as folks are using, they're going through this process of euphoria, and then the other side of euphoria is when they're coming down off of that, the withdrawal. And so most of the time, they spend very little time in a place of regulation, which is why we're seeing what we're seeing in our communities. And so that point of regulation, that's the window we have to kind of engage with them. It's a very small window. And so they act differently when they're in withdrawal versus when they're in euphoria. But both of those experiences can lead to crimes of opportunity. And so we're seeing not just the drug use, but we're also seeing the other pieces that come out of that. The vandalism and then also the fatalities. And we're seeing an increase in that across our city. And so we are working on this. We are throwing everything we have, plus the kitchen sink at this issue. But this is a different drug. I just need everyone to understand that this is a different ballgame. I grew up in the heroin era. I grew up in the crack era. This ain't it. This is different. And so we will be, the health department, we've taken some time to develop our strategic plan. It includes prevention piece, it includes working with the county, it includes adding access to treatment within the community. It includes all of that. but more importantly, we have to continue to work together. So I am thankful for the comments. We've had several of these throughout the city. We've had surveys to try to get input, and the best information we get are from those with lived experiences. So thank you for your comments. Thank you for the information that you're sharing. As a neighbor, I too walk the city almost every day. I am seeing what you're seeing. I get it, I do. And so it is on us to be responsible with what we receive, but it's also for us to be responsible to listen and hear what's happening on the ground. And we have to work with our county partners, we have to work with the state in order for this to be effective. That's the only way we get ahead of this.
Thank you, thank you.
That's a good question.
And the county as well. Sir, did you have comments that you wanted to make?
Yeah,
And
just
I want to just know, we have about 25 minutes, and I want to identify some of the solutions that I've heard and some steps that we're going to take moving forward.
So I live right across the street, or kitty corner to the encampment that we're kind of all speaking about here on 3rd Avenue and 33rd. And I think we all understand the cycle of drug use, unfortunate circumstances that come to some humans in our society. And this is not just the city, this is not just the state, this is across the country. We think we all know that. And as it pertains to sort of the evictions, I don't think, I'm not for, okay, these guys are down on their luck and they need a place to sleep tonight, and just clearing them out without notice. I understand how that can be, come across inhumane. However, if you're gonna stop this cycle of people coming into encampments without a drug problem and getting a drug problem, or people that, just have a really strong fentanyl addiction that is preventing them from moving past that. And I forget, you're the gentleman right next to you, you're on the drug task force or something, or?
Well, that's hindering.
What's your?
Crime prevention.
Crime prevention, oh, I thought you had something to do with it. So anyway, if we, as a police officer, if you're trying to stop the flow of drugs into, these unfortunate circumstances, not giving them a heads up is an easier way to catch drug dealers and identifying them. And so we are in a rock and a hard place, but there, over time, I think if you are able to evict without notice, and we have more resources in the police force to respond faster to the immediate community with eyes on these properties, because yes, let's house the homeless, let's get them into treatment centers, let's try to fight this epidemic that is bigger than all of us and is not going to happen overnight. But in that response, I think the police, as moving in without anybody knowing and responding rapidly and quickly to the immediate community's calls, will start to chip away at this issue of the predators that are coming into these organized encampments and preying on this unfortunate human problem that we have with fentanyl. So that is just my 2 cents. The second part of what I wanted to say is, it sounds like I love your solution, and I'm not here to speak in depth about the atrocities of, taking land from the natives, and I understand that is a deal, but you've got a couple solutions. We've got this East Phillips area that they're willing to work in tandem and stand up places for them to go and oversee that they are not being overrun by drug dealers and fentanyl funneling into these encampments that are unoverseen and unregulated. And then this woman right here says that all they need is a couple of U-Hauls to move them into recovery camps that they are adamant about standing their community up and helping. So there is resources right here in this room to move these and consolidate these camps. We have people that are, like you said, in between this euphoria and withdrawal stage in a very small window that cannot, that's where you have to catch them to sort of get them into the resources and show them there is light at the end of this tunnel and we can help you get there. And I'm torn on the issues, but I think that if you can move fast and respond, and we're not calling on the police on people doing nothing that unfortunately are without a home and living outside. We're calling the police on the predators that come to prey on these unfortunate circumstances.
Sounds good. The person in the purple shirt.
Thank you. Nikki Broderick. I live in the house right next door to the police station, a half a block from multiple encampments, and I've experienced all sorts of things from stealing our water, where our water bill quadrupled in a month, to graffitiing and needles in our yards and pipes in our yards and whatever. But I do have a question, and I think I'm going to direct it to the gentleman in the center in the blue. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name. There are a lot of names here at the beginning. I'm curious if there's a prerequisite to be sober and drug-free to live in a shelter?
We try so hard to meet people where they are. We have a continuum of care that we, in the mayor's office, we believe in low barrier affordable housing.
How many low barrier beds are there in Minneapolis?
I can't answer that, and there was a big problem when Evergreen went down.
So you don't have low barrier beds, is what you're saying?
We do.
Can you explain
How
what
many?
Evergreen is?
How many? You're in charge, how many?
Please.
Last year,
Will you do your job?
Respect the process,
Hey,
please.
Yeah, let them finish, man. Go ahead.
So I love that, there's options for everybody regardless. I think there's a mentality and belief that some people think they have to be sober. So I think part of that solution comes with a marketing campaign to make sure people know that they can get shelter if there are beds available, that there aren't these prerequisites. So making sure all of us in the community know that those beds are available and that we know where beds are available. It'd be great to know when beds are available, where they're available. I love your solution, Mike. I think, and I would also like to say, we talked before, the idea about it being sovereign land, that you get to use that land as you would have originally, is also wonderful. I'd love to see that too.
Thank you.
Thank you. We need to hear from folks who haven't spoke yet. Yeah.
Brian Walters, a Minneapolis resident. I just want to talk a little bit to the cities. We all agree that more resources are needed and housing is needed. I think the question to the city is like the plan for where those are going to be located. Because I feel like when we talk about the homeless community, and yes, those are people that, it's affecting their lives. The neighborhoods that they're in, they're generally low income, already, hurting neighborhoods, and those children in those neighborhoods are feeling those effects. I coach at Boys and Girls Club down there. I give kids rides to those East Phillips neighborhoods. I had to drop them off in the alley because they couldn't go through their front door because of the issues that come with the homeless population and the concentrations. So I'm asking the city to be conscious of when these services come, where are we putting them? Are we just putting them in the low-income neighborhoods and they're going to feel the effects of that? It's a county issue, right? Let's disperse, let's make this a county solution and not focus all of it in the most vulnerable neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Can we hear from Hennepin County about how you guys are addressing this?
Sure. A lot of it was already spoken to. Thank you for kind of talking about the shelters that are available. I would also just say if you're calling Adult Shelter Connect directly, you are probably going to get a voicemail. The Hennepin Shelter Hotline is the first stop for seeking shelter in Hennepin County. That is a central access point for single adults, youth, and families. There's an intervention that happens at the Hennepin Shelter Hotline where if someone is able to identify a safe, appropriate alternative to shelter, they can get support, financial assistance, and things like that. If they cannot find a safe, appropriate alternative to shelter, they would get then routed to the Adult Shelter Connect or the Family Shelter team for bookings. There are some resources online. I can send links later on to sort of show a 2-day-old snapshot of the bed availability during the day and in the evening. There certainly are rosters that get cleared out multiple times throughout the day. So if you call, at 10 a.m., you're really likely to get a bed reservation. If you call at 2 p.m., less likely. But the beds and the rosters do sort of clear out. It's like making a reservation at a restaurant. The restaurant's full, but you can show up and actually some people didn't show up for their reservation. So there are some guidance on the website on how to kind of call at the prime times for the most sort of the least reserved beds, and then when to recall and see if people have shown up for their beds or not. But Hennepin Shelter Hotline is your first stop shop, not the Adult Shelter Connect. So to that point, we've talked about low barrier shelters. It's hard to give like a specific number because every shelter that is funded or contracted has their own operational guidance. Some are more low barrier than others, some are culturally specific, some even allow use on site. So it really is dependent on the needs, unique needs of the households that are seeking shelter, about what is available for them. And then I work for Housing Stability, so we have a street outreach team, Streets to Housing, that's out every single day, doing housing assessments, getting benefits on for people, coordinating resources. We have an opioid use specialist who's over there in the room in the purple. Justin, who's always working with other outreach teams to connect people to treatment options in real time. And we are very data driven and just making sure that we are hitting our most vulnerable neighbors first. And again, to the point earlier that most people who are experiencing homelessness in Hennepin County are sheltered. It's a very small percentage, although it's a very impactful percentage, but a very small percentage of people that aren't sheltered at night that are experiencing homelessness in the county. And again, the Hennepin County is 45 cities, and not everybody experiences homelessness in Minneapolis, although it sometimes feels definitely more concentrated within the city limits, north and south side. So any specific questions, but that's just here to just represent.
I want to hear from this person here.
My name is Lisa Boyd, and I'm here representing Lake Street Alignment, which is a coalition, multifaceted. I'm not going to go into that right now because mainly I just want to pose a question. Evergreen has been mentioned several times, and I would just like for someone to explain for everyone in the room what Evergreen is and what the impact has been if it's closing.
Former employee.
Can you explain to everybody what Evergreen is?
It was like a harm reduction based treatment center, but the owners were assholes that were super greedy and kind of let everyone just sort of run amok. The counselors didn't know what the hell was going on. They were coming to us like PRSs, like, we don't know what the hell to do. And so it was good and bad. It housed people, but it deserved to close. There was fraudulent things happening as far as billing goes on the back end, pretty bad. But it really screwed us in terms of harm reduction resources and places to send people. We need places to send people where we can slowly sort of transition them onto MAT substances and such. I don't know. Anyway.
All right.
I was at Evergreen. I was a client there for 17 months. And the way the program was set up, yeah, it's unorthodox, but it helps. We need a harm reduction program that is legit. It housed all the people that couldn't be housed in other treatments because they were unable to fully stop. They would go from shooting up to smoking. It's like a sort of harm reduction, and they weren't kicked out immediately for dirty UAs. So it housed 600 people. And now all them 600 people are run amok out here.
And long-term, I just want everyone to understand this was not a shelter.
No, it was a long-term program. People were there for years. I did 17 months there. I have been clean and sober for 30 months, and that program is what got me there because it was harm reduction. And I'm out there helping, and I come from addiction. I just wanted to point out that in these camps, I've lived in them. I was an addict. I've been clean for 30 months. I've been to prison 9 times. I've been homeless so many times. I was a prostitute out here for years. And it's hard with the programs and the resources that are being offered now because they don't fit our people. They don't fit. And he's got the most awesomest plan I have heard throughout this whole thing. We really need to, you want solutions? This man's got them right here.
Thank you. Did you have a comment that you wanted to make, sir, in the green?
Yes, Minneapolis Mad Dads. I just want to say I'm part of the outreach group. I be out there every day. Y'all reached a couple good points, but the addiction part is the greatest. They getting younger and younger. Y'all looking at it like it's all adults. These are kids. Y'all trying to address them. Y'all got to address it different. Y'all got to look at it different. It got to start at home too. It got to go back to the homes. You got to get a belt back to the parents. You know what I mean? It's too much. It's too loose. They putting missing kids out there, and they got homes. but you won't let the parents discipline them enough or talk to them enough where the kids got more power. You gotta get the power back to the parents. It gotta start there, and then you can work on the adults, because adults is, you could squeeze it more tighter. You know what I mean? I'm out there every day. A lot of these cats and a lot of these women, they have housing. They just out there hanging out. They just use them. So you got to separate the addiction from the homeless. You have to.
Great point. So we only have about 7 more minutes.
One more thing. Andrea, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Please, go ahead.
I just want to say there's nothing humane about mayhem. We have to have order, and we have to have rules, and we have to have a plan. And if we don't work that plan, we're never going to get anywhere. We're going to go in circles. So whatever we do, Andrea, we need to do it quickly. We need to have a plan. If we have, homes or facilities that are not being ran properly, swap out the management, do it quick, but let's keep moving. We need to have swift action in our city today. I'd encourage everybody to watch The Fight for the Soul of Seattle. If we think we're in a bad situation right now, please watch that documentary. It is sobering. And the more that you allow things to happen in your city to become normal, the more you're going to see of it. So we need to fix this issue, and we need to do it quickly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just have one question about drugs. We all agree fentanyl is bad here, right? I mean, I certainly feel that way. I don't want it killing people. It's horrible. I see it every day. But does it happen only in encampments? And are the city bulldozing every apartment building that drugs obviously also happens inside houses, inside apartment complexes? This is not just an encampment thing. There's a narrative that it's all drug addicts. 40 to 57% of unhoused people are disabled like you and me.
Living in all kinds of places. But that's the thing. They're not letting their addiction impact their communities. The
that you know
problem
of.
is the encampments are impacting the communities. We're going to hear from this last person, and then we got to wrap it up.
Hi, thank you. My name is Mary. I live Canning Corner from the encampment, and I've heard a lot of great things here today from Michael and other resources. I was at a meeting like this at the Martin Luther King, I think, Michael, you were there, was it last year or whatever, to talk more about, we got separated into breakout sessions, groups, what are we as community doing to come up with solutions. And I was so irate at that point because I'm like, we have been doing things for like 4+ years, at least in our little small central neighborhood at least. We've have a crime watch chat going on. We keep each other safe. We're on the lookout for each other. And I want to know what you guys are doing because it's been many years since we've kumbaya'd about this. I am a victim of the folks from the encampment, and don't think, again, it's not a homeless issue, it's a drug issue, it's a higher level. We saw a girl trafficked with our own 2 eyes. They're high crimes. I take care of my mom, she's a vulnerable adult, she's in a wheelchair, I have an 11-year-old child. We can't go outside, I can't take my mom for a walk around the block. We are literally held hostage in our home. My kid can't go outside to play. He had a friend over, which I had to tell his dad, we have this situation next door. As soon as they're outside in the afternoon on Friday, boom, gunshot, break. Boom, gunshot, break. Yeah. My kids are freaking ass scared. My mom is afraid. She can't go outside. We can't go outside unless we have neighbors to hang out with. We're watching each other. Yeah. The vulnerable adult situation, yes, I have empathy for everything that's going on in the encampment. My house is broken into. They stole all of my tools, bikes, on a Saturday morning after they rolled on in. What did we do as homeowners? We rolled our asses over to the encampment. It wasn't a surprise to know where that stuff went. We walked through the encampment. How brave we are, right, with no backup. As neighbors, because we have been threatened. I see the look, but we've been threatened. We found our stuff in the back of the encampment, in the wheelbarrow that they took, all of our tools, not to mention they've already hacked our compressor and stuff, but we felt empowered that we went and found our stuff. Why are my human rights not
They're running around
thought
with
about
ski
first?
masks.
They're constantly all black. Thought about coming today in all black and a baklava because I guess it doesn't matter.
How long have
Like
you been in South Minneapolis? I'm just wondering.
I've been in South Minneapolis since I was a kid.
Really?
Yes.
So there was never any gunshots before?
Oh, there's been gunshots. We lived through.
Literally?
Yes, this is worse than
I
George
grew up
Floyd.
in the 80s and 90s. in
I
South
think if
Minneapolis.
you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean like that.
You're right, you're right.
As to
Thank
who
you.
grew up in the
Yes, we understand that we have an immediate problem at 33rd and 3rd Avenue.
Thank you.
We also have a much broader problem. We have a national problem with fentanyl and people in encampments. This is a national problem that's impacting every city in the country. We have multiple entities that are trying to address these issues. We heard some solutions today, some potential solutions. One was to come up with a team, a small sort of think tank, I think you the word you use. That's one potential solution to develop a long-term sustainable plan. One of the things that Mike mentioned is a potential solution is to have a place where people can have access to treatment, to services, hopefully to housing. It's gonna get pretty chilly in Elliott Park in December, November, January, February, March, here in Minnesota. So I'm not sure if that is the greatest solution,
Well,
but
we have
it
tiny
is
home
a
villages
solution.
with heaters. It wouldn't have plumbing, but they would be safe. And I would actually like to hear what Mr. Gomez has to say about the idea of the Red Road Village.
Well, I think it's a potential solution. What we're gonna have to do now, a lot of people have talked about crime, drug dealers, human trafficking, etc. So our police department will have to be dealing with those kinds of issues. Those are serious crimes. There's also some low-level crimes, breaking into garages, stealing donuts out of the convenience store. The challenge is, once they get arrested, they're gonna be back out on the street. And so we need long-term solutions. That's what a potential think tank can come up with. Potentially the solution that Mike offered can be a thing. I know it looks like there's vacant buildings around. Those vacant buildings are owned by private property owners. So we can't just put people into those spaces.
You can buy them.
Eminent domain.
You can't just take their property.
We can't eminent domain and.
But they're taking ours. Right.
And you took ours.
Did you see the irony?
Public
See the
comment.
irony?
I see the irony, I do.
Because if I walked up and took your bag and you called the
I
police
live
and
in
said
that
want it
irony
back.
every day, so I do understand it.
And I appreciate you understanding.
So, I wanted to bring us together today to hear the concerns, to let some of our staff hear those concerns. We're gonna go back and really try to work to bring forward sustainable, humane, constitutionally sound solutions to help deal with this problem. So thank you all for coming today. I know these are really challenging issues that we all are dealing with. I want to thank all the people who are out there trying to assist and help in these encampments. It's really tough work, so thank you for your efforts. It's really incredible and amazing, and I appreciate you.
Hey, Councilmember, can you replace,
back
can
in
you
touch.
respect what this lady said back here about her her mother, and coming out the house on top of everything you said. I ain't said nothing, I'm just sitting there listening. But you intend to go back, and it's a bad situation, but they should be a part of the top priority of protecting their where they live at, where they can.
33rd
Yeah,
and
I'm
3rd
just saying.
Avenue is top priority. I
Yeah,
think I
I'm just
said
saying.
that. I think I said
I'm just
that.
making sure, I'm making sure you get heard and that they hear, because they'll go back and play like they forgot what you said.
So are you gonna evict that camp right away? Is that what's gonna become the issue of this?
Yeah, you should, you know.
Right away, and if it is,
All right, everyone, well,
resources
thanks
there.
for tuning